the planning board itself. I think that's it.
Yeah, we didn't expect to win.
So here's the thing, everybody's like I heard it called Fool's Gold. It was, the quarterback that used to play for them, that played, he was like, MVP down in Charlotte. Okay, tell me who's good this year. Nobody's good this year. There's no outstanding team, there's no consistent team, there's no strong team, everybody has injuries. Like, you know who's winning the NFC right now? The Bears. They're number one seed in the NFC right now, that tells you. They showed on ESPN his yards. One of them was completion, he has the lowest completion.
We have a fourth, so let's go. It's recording. All right, let's call the meeting to order.
Sadie and Tom are on, just let you know.
Oh, Sadie, there she is. Hi, Sadie.
Should I come mute her?
How about, hi, Tom.
Yeah, you can probably allow microphone.
No,
Well, we have to allow them to speak.
let's try again. Hi, Sadie. Hi, Tom.
Hello.
Oh, I just heard her. Way back there.
No, it's coming from where she sits.
It is too.
True.
Hi, Sadie.
Hi.
That's good.
All right, Tom, can you hear us?
My microphone has been disabled.
It's on mute. All right.
When you see us, I start sitting on that side.
We can flip it. We can flip it over in a minute.
So it says they're able
Right, it's like a select board right next to me, buddy.
All right, let's take some attendance here. Come on, call to order. Take some attendance. Ryan is excused. He's off with family business. Mr. Bergeron is here. Mr. Collins is not here.
There you go. So now you can see.
Tom Duplinski is on Teams. Tom Percy is here. Michael Reese is here. Mr. Seuss is here. Mr. Stone is here, and Sadie is on Teams.
We have a new clarification about if you're on Teams, if you can count and vote.
Can't count and vote. That's just the rule. I mean, I think it's silly, but
No, but I thought we had a reclassification of that after we had a classification. That was a reclassification. No, you can't. Maybe.
I think you
I
can
thought-
vote, if we have a quorum in the room. I think so, most people can vote.
well, I would love to have a motion that says for this meeting, we're going to allow remote people to vote.
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second on that? Very good. Any conversation about that?
No, I'll just say, as long as they're in the conversation, I don't know why they would.
I understand.
If you missed it, that's different.
Voted on Steve. All right, all those in favor? All right. Sadie, you guys can actually vote on things.
I have a question. I thought that was an RSA by the state that we couldn't vote if we were not there physically in person. Is
Yeah.
John there? He can clarify.
John, you had to look
We have
up to make
emails
sure.
going back and forth for that, and I thought it said we could.
Yeah, that's right. I thought those go back.
All right, so while John's looking that up and attendance is now done, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the November 20 meeting, please?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I have one item.
Okay.
5C, that's the bottom of page 2.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I think it just was a little unclear when we were talking about the budget. It's actually the very last sentence. It was stated that voters could decide to reject the warrant article on the proposed budget. It's specifically not a warrant article. The
Well, actually, the budget is warrant article.
budget is, but the way I read it, I thought it was showing that it was that the police position was the warrant article. That's how I read it. So if I'm the only one confused, then I would withdraw my comment.
Doesn't say if it was a warrant article, it just says as a warrant. I'll look at the sentence, clarify it.
Because like the whole budget's the warrant article.
Yeah, it's always the first one.
I thought that this, I read it as it was pointing to the warrant article of the police position.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you that
Just a little.
the discussion was, should it be on the budget or be a warrant article? This kind of muddies the water. I think what this should have been saying was voters could decide to reject the budget.
But
on the proposed, but which would automatically incorporate the default budget. That's what I think it should say.
So change it to something like that.
Yeah.
Leave it up to Roger to handle that.
I
Okay, that, I know that's what.
Yeah, okay. Any other comments on that? Okay, and all those in favor of accepting the amended change that Roger will make?
Aye.
Opposed?
Bye.
Abstained.
Yeah, they gotta list the ones on the line then.
Yeah, I know.
The rules on, remote access are, anybody who's remote has to state the reason why it's not reasonably practical to be here. And that has to be in the minutes.
Okay,
And also, all votes have to be by roll call.
gotcha. All right, so let's see. Sadie, would you please say why you're not able to be here at the moment physically?
I'm leaving on vacation tomorrow. So
Yeah, that's good enough for me.
not the best excuse.
Good enough for me.
It only has to be good for us.
Tom, do you have a reason for not being here?
Hi, you can hear me okay now, right?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. So we fixed the microphone problem. That's great. So yes, I'm out of state currently. That's why I can't be there.
Okay, that's perfectly acceptable to me.
Now,
He's out of state.
Gotta stay out of mind.
I hope you're not having mine. All right. All right, so then let's go back and do a roll call vote on accepting the minutes. John,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes,
Sal, yes, Michael,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sadie.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Okay.
Because we're getting.
See, oh, okay, that's done. That's done. All right. Done with those. Very good. Just a couple of really short, I would like to, make a motion to go back and modify the 9/18/25 minutes. Include the fact that Ellie Davis was present at the meeting.
Give me a second.
Please, thank you.
Second.
All those, any discussion? All those in favor, roll call again?
Yes.
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 Already, yes. Okay, good. Thank you.
He was definitely here.
You were definitely here, we know. All right, good. So that piece of duty is done.
You got a roll call of remote people too.
Yeah, remote people, what do you say? Sadie,
Yes.
Tom,
yes.
thank you. Okay. That. Minutes. Much. What else did I have to say? Must have something. Yeah. We'll come around. Okay, well then, with that being said, we're gonna move on to revenues revisited with Carrie Ann Zandell. Carrie Ann, this is your show. Tell us what we got.
Since we last met, the select board did approve new fees for the building inspector. So I changed the revenue for what we expect to get for building permits next year. And that would be on page 2. At the very top of the revenue budget. So we increased it from, I had 17,000 in there, we increased it to expecting possibly 30,000. We really just don't know what to expect because we added fees for things that we haven't charged in the past, so we never tracked it. But I think 30,000 is a good estimate. And then the bottom line general fund revenue came in at 2,660,518.
Where is that on this sheet? Nowhere?
The summary page has it, and it would also be on the bottom of page 5.
Can you do that number again?
The general fund part is gonna be 2,251,657. And then on the summary page, to get the less estimated revenues line, you add in what you expect to get from water and sewer as well, because they're included in the total town appropriations.
It's, everybody understand what she's telling us here? Does anyone have any questions? Yeah. Okay, so what you're saying is that, the 2.6 is this number. That includes the 2.251 plus water and sewer.
Roger that.
Right? All right. And, any other comments on the revenue? That you wanna mention at this moment? Because it is down from last year, right? Maybe we should just attack this sheet a little bit.
If you look at the past year budgeted, the 2025 budget had a $2.7 million bond that was part of expenditure and revenue. And then the year before that, 2024, was the big water grant money that we got, so that was $3 million.
I think the total was 2.9. So those were both added on the revenue side. So for the last 2 years, you have inflated revenue.
Right, so instead of 6,354,890, if we took out 2,007,000, that would be the comparable apples to apples.
Yes.
That would have had a total estimated revenue of 365,485.9. Okay. Now, my question would be, why is it so different? 2025, apples to apples to 2026, you're up by roughly $1 million less revenue.
And that was, we had sold the gravel pit for $150,000 that we claimed towards revenue. And then we spent close to $300,000 from fund balance this year. And then we had also claimed money from the capital reserve funds to offset the purchase of the loader and the highway truck that we bought this year.
Those are all one-time, unusual items that are not going to occur in 2026, is that correct? Yes. By the way, that number totals $949,000 of odd one-time numbers. So in effect, it's almost, apples to apples. If you pull that 949 out, 25 revenue was estimated to be, was 2,066,000. And right now, we're estimating 2,002,000 for the 251, whatever, plus water and sewer. So it's relatively the same, not dramatically different in terms of the revenue.
Mhm.
Is that fair to say?
Those one-time things like a grader, is there something else we're gonna look by this year, or that's gonna be another one-time thing?
We, through all the warrant articles in 2025, we changed how that whole process works. So when we made the change from the capital reserves being voters to expend to the select board to expend, now they just became another fund. So it's not gonna be done through the general fund. We're just gonna put money into the savings account.
So it's an in and out.
You finish it, go ahead, finish your thought.
Yeah, and then from there, it doesn't really impact the general fund going forward. It's money sitting in a savings account that the select board spend. So we don't budget for it as an expense or revenue. We're only budgeting for the appropriation into that savings account.
So in effect, what happens now is when we approve, there would be warrant articles that say, I want to put $1 into the capital reserve for police vehicles. That money goes into that bank account and it sits there. And if we want to buy something for the police departments like a cruiser, we take the $1 out of there and put it where to pay for the cruiser. Where's it go? Is that the $1 comes out of that bank account and where does it go?
Well, it's an in and out of the general fund.
So it goes into the general and then out.
In and out.
Okay. Everybody understands how that is now gonna work in the future moving forward here? More or less.
Kind of.
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
Good enough. Good enough for today.
And just in keeping with that part of the conversation, this year, what you have in revenue is also 169,000 out of
But that was-
fund balance. You know, just like brain cramp it. And this is the last year we have to do that just to make up for revenue that wasn't collectible. So technically, we would be taking 169,000 less next year. But it will be already have been, the damage will have been done to this, to 2026's budget, so it won't have an effect on the tax rate going forward because we won't have to take it out of fund balance. And we've been doing this correction for the last 2 years. This will be the third time.
Right, anything else you wanna comment on there, Carrie Ann?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, anybody has any questions for Carrie Ann about the revenue? Well, huh?
Not enough.
No. Well, I have some questions. I always have questions. I'm asking some questions. One of the things I want to comment on is I've been trying to get, remember from the last meeting, we had the cemetery folks. And, there was a whole conversation about where the money was going to come from and this kind of stuff. They've not gotten back to me yet with the answer about, you know, how much extra revenue they're going to be able to pull from any of the trust funds to boost the revenue. We still have a $13,000 figure in there from the cemeteries reimbursing us basically for work that we will do there for, you know, whatever equipment, whatever we do, man hours, etc. But I spoke to Cindy Neely a couple hours ago. And she said that the cemetery trustees need to sit down and decide actually what it is they want to do in 2026, what it's going to cost, and they have to then submit that to Cindy's crowd, the trustees of the trust funds. They will then determine how much they can pay. So I agree with Cindy that I would track down the cemetery people and try and get them to get that done so that she can then tell us at the next meeting what amount of revenue she'll be able to pull from any of the trust funds to offset the cemetery budget. So that's just where that stands. So if we get to the cemetery, yes.
Just on that note, the only item they were basically sure of was all the work at the wells thing could be reimbursed, which was the 24 grand.
Yeah, but they haven't decided that that's going to be what they're going to do.
I understand. I'm just saying like that. So my point is that we put the expense in and that 24,000 would be added if that's where it comes from. So just so everybody knows.
Right, so we may have to modify the budget. That particular item, but we probably won't get to that until the 18th, I would suspect. But hopefully next week I'll get the answer and we'll get it straightened out and we'll have it ready for you by the 18th, that particular piece of the budget. At one point in time, I know there was a list circulating of, I don't know if you know about this, Chet, old equipment that's sitting around everywhere.
Yes.
And, can we get rid of that stuff? Can we sell it? Can we auction it? Can we?
I have a list from you.
Revenue.
I have a list from you. I think there was like 8 or 9 items that were included in it. That's the goal to do that. We might be talking for those 9 items, $8,000. I mean, some of them are, you know what I mean? But we got to put a number to that we're going to say, yes, we're going to get rid of these things next year.
Yeah.
And I believe we also, I don't think we traded it. I believe we have another cruiser that we don't want to save and we might be getting rid of, so. That's the one that we'll run every time it rains.
And on top of that, there's real estate, more money available in real estate.
Yeah.
Correct.
Geez, John, that was next on my list.
So the real estate side, because the planning commission did provide a list of what they thought we would be able to sell. But to keep it in mind, it's kind of an odd question about counting that as revenue, because you go to tax sale for all
Well,
of
that's
these.
different, then you only get the shelter,
We
what they
get
owe
to
you.
keep, we get to keep what was taxes owed from previous years. So if we call that revenue, see, the gravel pit was a purchased,
Right.
town-owned piece of property. The tax sale items do not apply like that.
Right, so it's not gonna be significant numbers, is what I'm saying.
Correct.
Or tax.
Well, actually, some of them, will, you know, we're owed, I know we're owed $100,000 on one that we might only collect 50 or 60, but it still goes to old taxes and write-offs. It's not revenue for 2026. That's,
Just money
that's
that
where
shows
the
up.
issue is. We are looking in 2021 or 22, there was a vote that allowed us to sell a portion of the land adjacent to the transfer station. I believe it was 37 acres or something like that. And they were only, because it was landlocked, they were only gonna be able to sell it to the people who got bids from both. Somehow the whole thing fell apart. That could be like $35,000 or $40,000 if we're able to get that. We gotta have it surveyed, because what hadn't been done before is we have to put a 500-foot boundary within the transfer station that allows us, and it's the sewer part of it, to be able to sell anything outside of that. Both landowners that were involved have agreed that we would actually just divvy up whatever their line continues off, and they would be interested in buying the rest. I just don't have that map yet because it hasn't been surveyed. You know, so I mean, but that's probably another, somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000 we would be able to take in for a land sale.
So there are little things here and there
Yeah.
that, you know, are not yet in the revenue that could theoretically boost us a little bit, basically.
Don't know if the grader's still working, but Halloran Plainfield needs one.
No, the grader left on the tractor the day we got it, on their, carried on their trailer. We did not hang on to that.
Good.
This is just a rookie observation.
Sure.
So we're focusing on revenue right now.
That's correct.
But if we sell some of those parcels and they start paying taxes, it's not revenue. But it offsets how much revenue we need, right? Because the more taxes we get, the less revenue we need to make it
That
back.
affects your rate. And actually, yes, we go back into the tax rolls. So when we do, after April 1st, and we're getting ready to do the July payment, that would say, okay, now we have $500,000 extra back on the assessed list. So that would actually work towards reducing the taxes. It won't change the expense side, it won't change the revenue side. It'll just mean if you had to pay $1,000 in taxes, you might have to pay $980.
That's a good thing.
Right, we all agree.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? But the reality is it's gonna happen at the tax bill. It's not gonna happen as part of this.
So I just did, I'm the treasurer at our church and I just did the reports before I came down here and I'm just thinking in that mindset.
Yeah.
We have income, a variety of taxes, revenue, whatever, and we have obligation, the tax burden. And anything on that left that increases is better,
Yes,
right?
because we want it back in the tax rolls, which
Yeah.
then divides it over more taxable
Yeah. So
evaluations.
that's
what
where I
you
think our
wanna do.
focus should be, is selling those properties, even if you almost give them away, but if they start paying
The
taxes.
reality is, we would be collecting taxes, which would be great because it's money we should have had in the years past. And it will help with our undesignated fund balance.
Yes.
So we will start to have cash.
Yes.
And we will also have more things paying taxes.
All that, yeah.
That's all gonna happen at some point, hopefully. Maybe in the spring. We're gonna use, as recommended by our attorney, we're gonna use there's a contractor that does it where they come in and they do all the work and they take a percentage.
Yeah.
And then we don't have to do the deeds, we don't have to do the research, we don't have to do any of it.
Was that you, John, that said something about all the property we had earlier?
Or in this meeting.
Yeah. Yes to that.
I agree.
All right.
It's, yeah, I was in it. I don't remember exactly.
I think it was
not including like.
Okay, I have no other questions or comments on revenue. Does anybody have any other questions or comments on revenue?
I mean, if this committee would like, we are going to sell whatever equipment we can sell. We are gonna attempt to sell that land adjacent. Both people said they're interested to the transfer station. If you want to put like 10,000 in for equipment, 25,000 in for land sale, it's something that I think would happen.
I don't know, what's thoughts on that? Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Go for it.
Sorry,
I say yes, do it.
would you like to make a motion that we add those to the revenue item?
Sure.
Okay, second?
I'll second.
And we have a discussion about that.
I think we just did.
Well, I know, but this,
I know, you know,
I have to do it this way, Bob.
I mean, when I wrote Robert's rules.
If I had my gavel, I would be. No further discussion? All right, we're going to do a roll call vote on that.
The state is falling off the world.
John,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes,
Sal, yes. Michael? Yes. Bob,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Sadie's gone?
Yes.
She's already gone on vacation. She just left.
Initials are missing from the TV, so.
Okay, she's gone. All right, so we don't have to roll call her anymore. She's out for the moment. Okay,
She left the chat right there.
all right. So figure out where to put that somewhere, will you? Yep. Thank you. Okay. All right, let me get myself organized there. This away, budget items to revisit. No, that's not you. Go away. Just go away. All right, I'm now gonna turn over the chair, the secretary, since the vice chair is not here. Because I'm gonna have to deliver the CIP report. I think that's just appropriate that I not share while I actually am being grilled. So let's
Let's keep it simple.
let's keep it civil, fellas. And girls.
Mike, your only role is to cut him off at some point.
Okay. Hey,
Actually, John and myself have seen most of it already. So
I understand, yeah. And you guys were very helpful, by the way, it was helpful. All right, so did anybody have any chance to look through that stuff yet? No, yes, no?
No, that we did make that upgrade to the 9 million. So.
And fix the numbers. We got the numbers fixed. Finally got them right. We got the right numbers now. All right, well, okay, so let's just go through it quick, introduction. No, who cares? The executive summary, we can start with that. We're planning roughly $9 million over the next 6 years in capital spending. We take a look at table 1. Right, that's basically detail for that. Under the public safety category, we're looking at almost $2 million, transportation 6.3, and buildings 700,000 over the next 6 years. That's in the aggregate. A tax appropriation of 1,372,13, is proposed in this plan for 2026. You'll see the detail behind that later on. We're recommending some things be leased and some things be bought based on cash availability, needs, etc. Seem to have one of the good things about some of the items that all of the items that we're leasing, check, correct me if I'm wrong, have a dollar buyout at the back end.
That is correct.
So theoretically, if we do a fire truck and it's, $300,000 a year, but both the leases are going to be all 7-year leases. Are they all 7 or the term?
Not all, like police cruisers are 6, like they're between 5 and 7 typically,
Right.
except the brewery. No, the greater 7 also, but yeah, that's the primary And that's what I said.
So I'll choose one big example that'll make we're proposing a ladder truck for the fire department. The single number would be roughly around 290, 250, 290, I think it's $290,000 a year, somewhere around there, for 7 years. Pay it off. Fire trucks last 20, so we're gonna have 13 years of no payment required for fire trucks.
With a buyout.
With $1 buyout, it's a $1 buyout, so at the back end, it's
Oh, it's $1.
$1.
I thought you meant a dollar amount.
No,
Like,
sorry, yeah,
sounds big.
it's a $1 buyout, all of it. So all of it, so what that doesn't extend all that long for every vehicle and things that we buy, but we're gonna have grace periods basically down the road that will, give us some flexibility. And that's one of the reasons why I think that the CIP folks, we agreed that leasing a few years back was a good way to get us out of the mess that we're in financially and get us the equipment and the things that we need to actually provide the services.
Yeah, some of the stuff has just gotten so expensive, but the other thing that you typically would continue to lease even beyond when cash is like yellow equipment. Whether it's graders or things of that nature, they're extremely expensive. They do last 10 to 12 years. You'll get a couple of free years and then you're not gonna wanna be putting out $500,000 when you got 300,000 a truck.
Yeah, and we are buying the extended warranty business on most of these.
The first one was that we haven't gotten to the financing part of this one, so we're working on that
Yeah,
when the
and
truck comes.
Basically, what that means is that, we're gonna save on payments. If something breaks, right, the leasing, the amount of money that we're paying for that, it gets covered inside of the lease. And so we won't have to be contracting out to fancy mechanics or, things with all kinds of crazy gear to, get them straightened up again.
Until you read the fine print.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Everything's not covered.
well, not everything's covered.
They're not
Extended
bumper
warranty,
to
wanna buy one? Ice tea says. All right, okay, so that's that one. Police department, we're recommending an additional cruiser for them to related equipment to meet their needs. Fire department has some major equipment, we'll get to all those in detail. They're looking for. Highway continues to upgrade their equipment, many of which are in general disrepair. There was a typo in there the other day. It said, many of them are in general despair. So you get. Which is also true, by the way. So. My Red Claw helped catch that one. Thank you very much. Okay, we have several pressing needs to support house town employees, equipment, vehicles, other assets that we have. Exact plans are not yet known. So we put in some conservative estimates in this plan. A few significant town building maintenance projects have also been included in this. Road reconstruction, we've included it in this year's plan. We have not done that before with a total cost of over 6 years of just over $4 million. Just for information, you all know this, but the town approved a bond of 2.7 to basically catch up on 3 major paved roads. 2 of those have been completed. One that's requiring some pretty extensive planning because of ecological issues or whatever. Still in process.
It's not a potato road, is it?
No, that's Goose Pond. Highway bridges replacements continue to be planned. Most of that is going to be paid for by state and federal reimbursements. We also are now including culverts, both large and small, in our plan. The overview, background, I'd like to thank obviously the folks who put in an amazing amount of time. Besides obviously Jeff, who did all these crazy meetings, but Tom Milligan and Scott Johnson and Claude Lemoy. We dig pretty deep as a general rule, with all of the department heads, anybody who comes in and says they want to spend money, get them to tell us and put up a good case about why they want to put their money in. We don't always grant it to them. But, these folks do a lot of work and it's really much appreciated. Okay, the rest of this is pretty common knowledge, falling behind on maintenance of a vehicle fleet, staffing vacancies. Primarily, have a mechanic for 2.5 years or roughly that amount of time. Now have our mechanic back, guys back. God.
He's looking for land to buy locally.
Is he?
Yes.
Maybe we'll sell him some more.
Hey, some property.
We'll give him a good deal. Gonna keep him local. Okay. Chad has got a fairly sophisticated tool that we have adopted. And he and I will be the first to tell you that it's a very sophisticated Excel spreadsheet with some outside processing that goes on every now and again. And we continue to work the bugs out in that, but it's a really good tool that allows us to not just forecast the actual costs that we're going to incur, but it calculates the recommended appropriations that we need each year going forward. So it's a pretty good tool. And that's about it. All right. So then department details. Table below annual expenditures, 6-year period. There are two important reports. The town mechanics report, which you have. You only have it for truck.
I was re-upping the thing and he did the trucks. Most of our regular equipment is upgraded. We got our new loader about a week ago. And we have the new truck coming in the spring.
That's
So
this
we got
one.
the grader and the backhoe.
And so
A lot of it's here now, so we're basically all the secondary equipment. When he does next year, he'll have an evaluation of those items, which would be things like the mobile vehicle lift and things like that.
So we do have it for all of the vehicles and all of the equipment. Was done, we reviewed it all at the CIP meeting. We've gone through all of them, we just don't have the updated version of it. But they go through and the mechanic comes in and we first meet with the department head. So we'll meet with Bob and he'll tell us what he thinks about his equipment and what his needs are. And after that, we then bring in the mechanic and he comes in with his version of what he thinks the condition of the equipment is. So we get two separate views of what the particular equipment pieces look like. And then I think if I'm not mistaken, we had them both in at the same time, right, Bud?
Yeah.
Yes. To say, okay, so now we've got both of your views, here's what we look at, and we can then discuss it and go through them all, and we do that for all of the department heads, the highway and the fire and the police. So it's a pretty extensive study. This report, I wish I had the rest of it because you can see the record. It's pretty extensive. There's another 2 or 3 pages of equipment. But so there's a pretty thorough process that we go through to make sure that we're not missing anything. I'm sure we do, but we try not to.
Well, we're catching up.
We're catching up. There's also a report that you have called the building status report. So that one. Got extra. That doesn't. Anyway, so this is produced by Jet. Goes through and looks at all of the buildings and the things that are need to be looked at. See that they're again. Right, so it goes through all of the major this the Emergency Operations Center, the museum, the town garage, senior center, town offices, library, water treatment plants, water treatment buildings, transfer station, and meeting house. Ones that we took a look at. That kind of gives us a feel for what kind of funding we need to put in for government buildings, new buildings, and that stuff. It's on your table one, obviously, but we'll get into the detail of it eventually. But that's another good report that I've added this year. So that we can have something to mark against. Well, how did we do on this? Basically address that.
So if I could.
Yes, sure.
So on your report, you said you have 2,000 here, 2,000 here, need an upgrade on the heating system, blah, blah, blah. That's all in the 45,000 on, is that right? Do I read that right?
Yeah, we'll get to the detail of the buildings. You'll see it.
It's in the bill,
There's a table that's specific buildings.
that covers all of those, lumps them together.
Yes. Well, this lumps them together. You're gonna, when we get to the other tables, I think it's 5 or something. We'll get the detail on that particular one. Okay. All right, so then let's take a look at table number 2. List is the police department. There are currently 6 cruisers in the fleet. This plan includes an addition of a 7th cruiser and plans on at least placing 1 cruiser each year on average. The actual needs are going to dictate how that gets done, whether there's 1 or 2 or none, obviously. We have the chief secured a $50,000 grant to subsidize the acquisition of body cameras and cruiser cameras. And that get paid out $10,000 each year starting in 2026. So that offsets the cost. You can see it, body cameras, cruisers, those are the things that he got the grants for. So kudos to the chief for showing up with 50 grand in 5 years. Thank you. Yes,
Can we go back to Mike's question?
sure.
There's a specific answer to that, Mike. You saw security locks, for example, in multiple places on the building sheet.
Right.
You look at this document,
Yeah, we'll get to that. Well,
yeah, it's in there. 32,000 is a line item for security, door locks and so on. But you asked the question, the specific answer is, it's in the spreadsheet. We'll see it.
all right, so the, basically police business here, I'm gonna read through these crazy numbers. But you can see that there's a pretty steady flow of replacing cruisers and eventually all the cameras and tasers and handguns, and some things are direct purchases and some are leases. The handguns and the ballistic vests are purchase items. The body cameras and cruiser cameras are leased items. The other thing I want to point out so that we can get this covered here is if you look at the orange lines that you have at the top, police warrant to capital reserve, there's a number there, 70,000. Right, in 2026. That's going to be the actual warrant that goes on the ballot of $70,000. In our general funds, meaning in our budget, the one that we are now reviewing in a little while, there is a number 44,553 that is being paid, being incorporated into the actual operating budget because it pays for the leased items. Correct? Right, so there's a total, if you will, capital appropriation for the police, which is down in the, a few lines down below the balance forward. That says 114,553. So in effect, what we're doing is for the police, there's a $70,000 warrant that may or may not be approved by the voters. But there's a $44,000 item that's in the operating budget that we have to have because we've committed to the lease for these items.
And the reason, obviously, is what Sal was saying, but the goal is to make sure people understand the actual calculated appropriation required annually is the 114,000. We're just splitting it up based on making sure that we can make our lease payment obligations in the general fund versus having them where if we don't get enough money, we don't have the money in the reserve account. So that's its only purpose. The goal is to keep an eye on the line of total capital appropriation, because when the lease is paid off, that number still applies.
Any questions on that particular item?
Yeah, where's the 114, which page?
There's two orange, two blue, and then a open regular, it says total capital
Just below two
appropriation.
blue lines.
Yellow.
Total capital.
Okay.
appropriation. Gotcha, okay.
Okay? You can see it goes, strings along forever. This, by the way, this tool projects out, I don't know, 30 years in some cases. I mean,
The whole thing goes close to 80, but we don't put any expenses out there, but the calculations based on that, and that came from the road sites. When you talk about a paved road,
Right.
the first time you pave it, and if you have a 15-year cycle, the next time you're gonna just resurface, the next time you're gonna mill and pave it, the next time you're gonna reclaim and pave. So it has to do 4 cycles in order to tell you what the proper appropriation is. This calculates it that way.
So it's the spreadsheet, we only show 6 because this is what we're required to show by law.
And the print would be really tiny if we wanted.
But just so you know, we are forecasting it way out into the future. So we can see if there's any blips anywhere that we might have to go back and adjust for.
And there is an inflation factor.
I was just gonna say that next, but thanks.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Bill, go ahead.
That you can, like, if we start saying, okay, well, 3% is not gonna work, we gotta go to 4, and it'll recalculate the appropriations according.
You can see, like, if you look at the cruisers, there's a 2026, we're gonna spend 63, then we're gonna spend 64, then 66, then 68, then 70, and then 76. Okay. So we're forecasting what we expect reasonable increases will be. Obviously, if something goes screwy,
Well, the issue is gonna be in 2 years, the highway trucks and the fire trucks have been exceeding that percentage lately. We've been hoping that that stops. But that's something we'll have to keep an eye on.
is there any questions on police table 2? Okay.
Yes, I saw this web question. So how does that relate to table 1?
Okay,
Shouldn't I find 114 on table 1?
No, table 1 is expenses, not appropriation. Table 1 is forecasted expenses.
Okay,
that clear, John?
so is that the expenses visible on color sheet?
Yep.
They don't want to break this.
They're
All
ones
the
that-
red numbers
all the red numbers.
in the columns.
And so theoretically, if you look at public police cruisers buy in 2026, you can see the 63,000. Those items. And the sum total of those lease things down the bottom, they're under equipment leases, 30,200. Then we put in the grant. Right, so that covers what you see in the columns up here. That's how they tie in. That will be the same for all of the categories.
This is a different format that we've used in prior years, so if we do go forward to the public with this kind of a table, you really need an explanation of what the columns mean and
Yeah, I'm relatively certain at this particular moment that we are gonna be, publishing table 1 pretty much as you see it. I don't see
I
any.
think John bring tables 2 through
I
7.
understand.
Comment on those.
I heard you. So I think table 1 will be what it is. Table 2, on the other hand, I think we're gonna be making some adjustments to what we actually sent in the book. Jack and I have to work through a few things, but it will definitely have, for sure, obviously, the item. It will have the replacement cost. It will not have budget year. That's gonna disappear. And we're gonna replace that with, last acquisition year. So in other words, you'll know that this particular item was last purchased in 2015. which Claude, you know, believes, based on his experience and what people chased him down over the years about, that most people are interested in, how old is that piece of equipment? Right, and so we're gonna change that. We just couldn't get it into this, for this meeting, but that's gonna change. We'll only have one column like we do now for 25. We have two columns. We have a budget and an actual. I don't know which one will survive. Figure that out. And then you'll have obviously you'll have the 6 years moving forward.
The 25, you're gonna want the actual to carry over.
And in the past, we have not, in the past, if I'm wrong, Claude, but we have not shown the prior year, right? We've only showed the 6 future.
What we publish shows, correct.
Right, so we're still debating, I guess, whether we want to show in effect, 2025 and then the 6 moving forward, or just the 6 moving forward. We'll come to grips with that eventually. So we'll change a little bit, John.
Depends on the optics. If seeing the old one, make this one look not bad, that's good. If it makes this one look horrible, don't show them. Just the
Well,
basic-
you know,
I'm kidding.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The intent is,
Thank you.
the intent is to say, we did purchase these items this year. We have this much left money, and then we go forward for next year.
So it's just,
The goal is to say, we had planned to buy these, and we bought these, or we didn't buy
but to
these.
John's point, if we add something like that, then it requires more explanation. You know what I mean? So there needs to be more information about what that means. That's about how much energy I have to write all these things. Just kidding. All right,
All good with me.
all right, so that's table 2. Table 3, fire department. So the fire department, replacement of engine 2 purchased in 1998 is overdue. According to Steve, chief, 20 years is all that you're allowed to keep fire engines for before they become something crazy happens to them. They become non-certifiable, some such thing, right? So as you can see, engine 2 is theoretically not certifiable.
Well, engine 2 right now, like if they go out on the wrong day, their dash lights go out, things like that, so.
So anyway, so the other thing to mention is that the water tanker, which we used to have, and you'll see that down the bottom, Freightliner tanker phasing out. We're getting rid of the Freightliner tanker. And the tanker is just something that contains obviously water. When they go to a fire, they need the extra water, they have to have it around. But that's going to be phased out. The reason that's going to be phased out is because we're proposing to buy a combination ladder pumper truck to improve basically the firefighting capabilities, and that as a combination has a lot more water in it than you would normally get in engine 2. So it replaces the tanker. You can get rid of that piece of equipment and upgrade from a single engine to a combination ladder truck. The chief gave us, I'm gonna let Claude take this one. Tell them why the fire department thinks that the ladder truck combination is a good idea, would you please?
They made a pretty strong case that there are more buildings in town than one might think that the 3 stories are taller. It's not just Cardigan Mountain School. It's also the red apartment building down near the medical center. It's also the library downtown here. It's also the apartment building across the library and so on. So in the past, it was stated that why would we buy a ladder when only Cardigan has a need? Truth is, there are a few other needs around town in terms of height, but they also argued that they have encountered a number of situations, sometimes rescue situations that require extended reach out over bodies of water or ditches or whatever, and a ladder would give them, provide reach as well as height. So they made a pretty good case that a ladder would have some definite usefulness. And it would now require calling a ladder truck out of Enfield for every structure fire, which is what happens right now. I mean, out of Lebanon.
The first thing that jumps in my mind is, so this is actually a pumper truck too, right?
It's a combination ladder pumper, yes,
So, yes, it's a pumper truck too.
yes.
So you hook your hoses up, you start pumping, then they say, we need a ladder on the other side. What do you do?
I'm not sure.
Well,
I
We
can't
do
answer that.
have another,
We have other engines.
we have other engines. We will have-
No, but I'm just saying, if you've got your hoses all hooked up to this one, and then they have to move it, you gotta disconnect your hoses, you're not fighting the
The
fire.
reality
I
is,
don't
well,
know.
We have a key. We'll talk to them.
I'm just saying, this,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first thing that popped in my
First thing
mind.
about-
is-
It's all about scene management, I'm sure, whoever's directing the activities on scene, loves to decide where to place the trucks.
And from your
Before you can
explanation, it sounded like
I still can't hear you.
90%, 95% of the
Sadie's
time,
gone?
it's the pumper truck.
Sadie raised her
In
hand.
a
Oh, good.
handful of buildings in town, it's a ladder truck. Yes,
For sure, in terms of height.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
One of the-
that's just first thing. about
Yeah. I think one of the other things that was not really stressed was from an insurance perspective. It will be an advantage, I think, to have a ladder truck. It's not just now, but in the future, if we're looking to bring businesses in to the town,
Build vertical.
right? And
It's-
they go
It's
up.
rating, it's,
Okay.
actually, I just went blank on what the rating is called.
ISO 9000,
There, no,
no, something
no,
else, sorry.
there's a ISO rating. Our ISO rating affects everybody's insurance in town.
Yeah.
And when ours is dropped pretty low now. We're not covering, both with our age of our trucks and different things, it's having an effect. The advantage of the current ladder trucks, this is not buying a massively bigger truck, it's not buying a tower. They're built on single axle chassis now, and they're called Quint. It's actually a shorter truck, so you still get the radius, the accessibility, and the pumping capabilities on a truck that's more standard as a pumper.
I'm definitely interested because my well can't produce enough water to put my house out.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm down with a pumping truck.
Yeah, so
And just-
in fact, we're gonna deliver more water capability to a fire now than we can. Sadie, I
just
think you have a
worried-
question? Sadie?
More, I have a statement. I mean, I
Okay.
realize this is not out there until 2029, but I just want to state my position is that I'm strongly opposed to a ladder truck for the town. For spending an extra $500,000. I mean, if we pull run cards and we look at who comes to fires, we've got Lebanon, we've got Hanover, and we've got Hartford that all have ladder trucks. I want you to also compare like the size of those towns and their tax base, right? And can we justify that for ours, especially when we're talking about regionalization for fire departments so that we can share equipment to cut down on costs? I don't see a use case for it. I mean, I understand what you're saying and I understand your reasons, Clyde, but I think there should be a much bigger and broader conversation with maybe a lot more facts and data before we consider this as a reality. That's just my statement.
Okay,
Well,
Thank you.
that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and then, we've reclassified some, expensive equipment such as turnout gear and breathing apparatus. Used to be in the operating budget that we charged to work with, and we've now moved it into the CIP.
We did that last year.
Okay, so we did that last year. So we've done that. That's all of the leasing items that you see. When we look at, the fire trucks, we're not planning on buying anything. We're planning on leasing trucks and buying equipment and not leasing equipment.
When do you have to place the order for this ladder/tanker truck if you go ahead with it?
Any vehicle, like when
Takes
we
3
just ordered the engine 2 replacement, we're looking at 3 years. So basically, all of these, when you see the the lease payment starting, assume 3 years before that's when you make the order.
Does that mean that the expense is showing here in 29 that you wanna place the order in 26?
I mean, that's 26, 27. We'd have to do that, yes. But the odds are, it won't be 26, it'll be more likely 27.
So that's gonna be a warrant article this year?
No,
Then you can't buy it in 26, right? It's gonna be 27.
well, one of the only thing that I will say is one of the warrant articles this year will be, fire department is the last warrant article that doesn't allow the select board to expend, but that will be a warrant article this year to try and get that done, because we are now dealing with smaller equipment. It's not just trucks every so often. So we're gonna need the select board to be able to expend for us to be able to buy this stuff out of this fund.
We've had some pretty crazy select boards in eons ago.
I understand.
You really wanna give?
Well, we just did with the highway trucks last year. We made that change. So it's just that, we have to have planning, and if we're gonna start using all capital items, and it's not just vehicles. Because you're buying some of these things once every 4 years. You know what I mean? And that's where the issue starts to come in.
So
So,
if you give the select board the authority to do fire truck play toys, and does that mean that in 27, you plan to have a warrant article that says we're gonna spend this on a ladder truck, or does that mean the select board is gonna make that decision all by themselves?
the ladder truck is going to be a very large discussion, because I also believe in this particular case, the only way that we would successfully be able to finish this is that Cardigan Mountain School is gonna have to be involved and have to be contributing towards the benefit that they're gonna get. So these are all things that we're gonna have to talk to a lot of people about. This is a planning opportunity. This could change back to a tanker, and then we just do the 2 engines the way we have them. It's just right now, this is what we think the future is gonna need.
Right, this is basically, this is a plan recommendation. This is not anything cast in
But
concrete.
he said that we gotta place the order 3 years before we have the expense, and you're showing the expense in 29.
And I believe it's probably off 1 year, and simply because I think I put it as the year we were gonna get it, but the payment is the year later, so I think that should actually be 30 for the payments.
So when they do the ladder truck, I was trying to follow that. Will it be a warrant article the town votes on, or will it be something that,
The select board can decide that we're just gonna put it out as a warrant article. And I think with that change, we may do that, but we'll see what the situation is. Because if we get contributions in that cover the difference between that and a regular engine.
I understand that. Danny's not here, so on behalf of what he was so upset about last time, I'm just gonna say on something when you have multiple options, I would put it before the people. I would not find a way to get it done without going to a warrant article. We talked about that with a police officer, which I think that's a no-brainer. We had to do a police officer. If there's versions of a fire truck we can do, that I think has to go before the people. Just want to state that.
I agree with you, Bob. I think, and especially for a purchase that large, I personally would not feel comfortable having 3 people vote on it.
That's
Yeah, I agree.
for the record, that's all.
That's okay, no, that's good.
But Mike, just so I get it, it's gonna be a warrant article that's going to give the select board the authority to
To
spend.
purchase from that fund.
Right, right.
Okay, but what we can add caveats to the warrant article saying, if the purchase is gonna be in excess of X,
Right.
it requires vote of approval. Like, we can adjust to that request.
As we're organized right now, it would have to be, if you wanted to buy it this year, it would have to be a warrant article.
Correct.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
Right, that's what I just wanted to make clear.
I'm just saying, like, from my perspective, we can, while we're having the conversation, I'm going, okay, so we gotta put a basement on that. And say, okay, everything under $900,000, which is the regular equipment, you gotta have voter approval.
Thank you.
Fair enough.
Okay, Moving on to highway, table 4. The highway
I
department.
just figured out how these things correlate. It took me a while.
All right, that was rolling by. Okay. That's how we got to the highway department.
Yes. Oh, I see what you did there.
Okay, so the highway department is gonna be replacing, if you can believe this, 9 of 10 vehicles and 5 of 17 pieces of heavy equipment. Valued at $2.5 million during this 6-year period. That just speaks to, what we didn't do. So 3 of the dump trucks will be upgraded from 6 wheels to 10 wheels. There was a very good case made for that. Chet, you're the expert on vehicles, so if you would tell us what the advantages to switching from 6 to 10.
Well, in years ago, 25, 30 years ago, the trucks that were being put out had very poor turning radiuses. So there was always the argument for the smaller truck and smaller roads that this would be a benefit. That has changed. They've moved the front axles back, the turning radius has improved. And in my previous life, we had done an analysis and said, we do our own hauling, like to Lebanon and things like that, where we're bringing stone and sand back. You can haul twice as much material in a tandem than you can a single axle. You also, in a plow event, have to come back to the town highway garage half the amount of times because you can stay out putting sand down. And the fuel economy was virtually the same. And the cost of the vehicle from a 6-wheeler to a 10-wheeler, it's probably $40,000 or $50,000. The numbers aren't that big in the difference.
You get $100,000 difference on here, right? I've
Well-
heard that before, but
Well, that 200,000, we haven't priced one in a while. I think that's low.
we don't know for sure, okay?
Okay, that one we haven't messed with. But the reality is, from an operational perspective, a single axle, a 6-wheel dump truck is basically landscaper level, like material wise and things like that. You get a 7-yard dump truck and they can't do the amount of hauling that we do. And everything we do with those trucks is hauling both directions. Whether we're running sand in the winter, whether we're running gravel. And for all of your big routes, we're gonna have a couple of small trucks. There's always gonna be we have
Oh, look, we'll have some 6-wheelers around.
we're gonna have some smaller ones, yeah, they're even a little bit like 5-yard trucks, 4-yard trucks, and that's the small freight liners. So there will be 2 of those. The intent is when you look at them, the single wheel, full-size dump trucks should all be tandems. There's no monetary value and there's no economies of scale at all with that.
You just wear out your roads faster.
Yes, I mean, you're just running miles. And it's better in every aspect of the processes that we're doing currently. And it's, in my view, and it works, and you go to an 8-year replacement cycle, and this works. And we will have, I believe it'll be 5 tandems when we get done and 2 single axles.
So speaking to the financing of these things, as you can see, if you look at the table 1 again, what you see is that obviously we're table 1. That's the step.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay, I thought you had this.
I thought I did too. Thought I did.
So in table 1, you can see highway vehicles buy. We bought something buying something in 2026. We're buying a 6-wheel dump. But you can see there's no purchases for 3 years, and then we start buying vehicles again. If you look at the highway vehicles lease, you can see there's a steady lease thing there. And based on the financial recommendations from the town administrator and the finance manager, and our common sense, that's one of the reasons why we went to leasing, to alleviate some of the problems we're having. So we have now the ability to have good trucks that can do things, right? And eventually we're working our way out of the financial problems so that we will be accumulating enough cash actually start buying if that's the decision we want to make at that point in time.
Yeah, and then, you know, if you notice in the 2031 column is the first year we start buying a tandem cash.
So just.
So
just
if
a-
I get out of the debt side.
Claude?
Just a clarification on the previous point,
Yep.
6-wheel versus 10-wheel. As I think one or two of you may have just noticed, this plan does show buying one 6-wheel dump truck this year.
Yes.
It does. We didn't say that loud enough, I don't think.
Oh, I see.
So we're gonna buy one and we're gonna have it for its life. We're not gonna replace all the 6 wheels with 10 wheels as, as Sal said. But there is a plan to buy one this coming year.
But there's two levels of 6 wheels.
Oh,
Okay, there's this one that the CDL cutoff is 26,000 pounds. The 6 wheels we're buying are like 24,000
So you
pounds.
don't need a license truck.
So there's two that we have like that. But then there's the full-size the 6 wheels that are the ones that would be replaced. Because the truck, everything from the truck, the nose of the truck to the back, with the exception of one extra axle, is exactly the same, tandem or single axle. It's the same truck, it's the same engine, it's the same everything. Those are the ones that should all be tandems, but then when you have the smaller trucks that have specific purposes, they will stay the way they are.
You understand the ramification from the driver perspective, that we don't need someone with CDL to drive smaller trucks. Okay, any other questions on highway equipment? I would add one simple item, down the bottom, you can see something, the second line from the bottom, mobile vehicle lift. And tire machine right behind that, they were added, and I think plate compactor was added this year as well, right?
Yes, that's already.
So we added 3 of them. You can see that the mobile lift is scheduled for replacement 2026, maybe. We're planning on.
That's the goal. Both the plate compactor and tire machine have
Already
been
done.
purchased into this year, therefore it's their next replacement cycle is 10 years from now.
So, that's just new things being added. We find things that we can add to the CIP plan because they now fall into the mandate behind the CIP program. 1,000 years. And we move them in here so that we can save a little bit each year to get to where we want to get versus having to have a operating budget that goes up and down based on the particular needs in any particular year. So I think that the overall planning is smoothing out. Thank you, Chet, for that. And Carrie. Okay, buildings. Let's go to table 5, and we got your issue coming up, Mikey. All right, just for informational purposes, the town of Canaan has 24 buildings. Currently valued at $7,347,800 with contents valued at $2,516,000. That's from the insurance form. We have a fairly substantial investment in buildings, roughly $10 million, right?
And we're gonna probably change that name because it's truly facilities because the transfer stations.
I mean, we can get there.
Yeah, I mean, so the goal would be that it's everything that we own, it's got structure on it.
So over many years, changes in the EMS crowd, fire, highway, police, department equipment is going to require a major garage expansion to protect these assets. The need to prolong equipment useful lifespans and provide sufficient space for department personnel to function effectively are also very important considerations. An estimated expenditure of $2 million is projected for a building facility upgrade to meet the needs of the department starting sometime in 2030. Planning is underway to present that plan to the voters as soon as possible. Final cost estimate will depend on a detailed design. Town office is reaching capacity and has some legal and safety deficiencies. Exact plans to improve, expand, or relocate the offices are not known at the moment. Planning is again underway to present plans to the voters as soon as possible. Final cost estimate depend on a detailed design and will be included in future CIP plans. All right, let's just cover that part first. Top line there, library, town office renovate, we're estimating somewhere around $400,000, but we're not expecting anything to happen in the 6-year timeframe. We are expecting to have something in the works by 2032. The EMS Fire Highway Garage Edition, you can see $2 million. We're hoping to have something in the works by 2030 for that. So this is, it's up to the select board and town administrator and whoever else wants to jump in there, I guess, to come up with a plan, to figure this out. Mike,
I have a question.
sure.
Is the vision on that, would improve this building or to build like another building?
It's technically to maximize the use of this combination facility, like, a town facilities location. There may be a couple of bays that have to be added, but we also know we need a couple of bays for the highway garage. How do we configure this particular site into a true town?
Including maybe the town offices too?
Yeah, I mean, it may, because if we can do that as an ancillary piece of this,
Right.
that's not gonna be the big expense item, that would make sense.
Right.
What my particular goal is once we get through this budget season and we're getting ready to go to deliberative session, is to start talking to the Regional Planning Commission, to start looking at, and talking to our planning commission, to start looking at grants or anything we can do to do some feasibility analysis so we can get an evaluation of our needs and look at our 10, 20 and 50-year plans to say, what are we gonna do? Like examples are, well, current ambulances won't fit in our ambulance space. We have floor drains in the police garage that go into our sanitary sewer, and the sanitary sewer within this building goes into it and then plugs up because the sand from here has no way is not caught before it gets there. And we have to put jet water in it to clean it out all the time. So there's a lot of little miscellaneous things that we have to deal with in addition to, what should it look like going forward? What's a simple conversation? Do you need four bays out back that you slide the ambulances over to the fire department so they can fit? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the shuffle? And then what does that space become? Well, is there a town office? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Right, so I think the point is that, we know there's a need.
Yeah.
It's manifesting itself very clearly. And, the powers that be that need to work on this are gonna begin working on this as soon as they possibly can. And when they start to come up with some actual plans, then we'll present them to everybody. But right now, it's still up in the air. I mean, like, if you can look at his status report, building status report, you can see the EOC, they got some things they're doing. They finished the teleconference upgrade, maybe. They're coming.
Mostly.
It's a joke. Yeah, okay. They have the storm drain that he was talking about. See down the bottom here, we have some building security issues. Way down the bottom, building security doors, various buildings, $32,000. Some of them are here, some of them are at other buildings. We have some security issues with. So you can eventually, tie yourself together to these things and figure it out. The town garage leaking things.
Yeah, electrical panels were taking on water for a while, little things.
So the bill. Okay, so that's that. Any questions on that particular kind of thing before we move on to Meeting House and the other things? Go ahead.
If we build a new facility that maybe the town employees, town hall employees would also live in, is that what you're talking about?
Potentially, yeah. But then, we also have the log cabin. We have to do an evaluation.
No, but so where they are now, is that a historical building that we can't do anything with, and so it's just gonna be another building we have on the tax roll that we're not gonna use?
Well,
Where the town hall is
Well,
now?
that's the library room.
the library has said they can't wait to push us out the other side.
They want to take it over.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, that's what you asked.
That's
Good
why I asked.
question. Good
Yeah,
question.
my understanding is they have plans. I think they,
They would have plans.
they know where everything is kind of gonna go, as they have a concept of what they could use those spaces for.
They better charge Dorchester more money then. Well, that's a couple meetings ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay,
All right, so.
that doesn't need to be in the
So the meeting house has undergone significant restoration thanks primarily to the efforts of John Bergeron and his friends. 92% of which was funded by LCHIP and Moose Plate grants, as well as private donations, and the balance was paid for by the town. So thank you, John, for all your efforts on that. You guys have done a great job over there. Going to need 2 small building replacements at the transfer station, which we're planning on doing in 2026. With voter approval, significant annual additions to capital reserves will be required to fund these projects and continue capital maintenance of town buildings unless other sources of funding can be identified, which Chet mentioned. He's going to be looking at the grants and stuff. Yes, Chet.
Just wanted to remind everybody, this was the only warrant article last year that didn't pass to fund this fund. It was for $73,000, so we've increased it to 1.5 times that to see if. Because
That'll
we
make it
felt-
pass.
Not because it needs to pass, because the issue is we are now gonna not be able to do hardly anything if we don't get something back in, so we're trying to play a little catch up. But
I missed that. What didn't pass last year?
because the government building's $73,000 funding, they lost by 20 votes.
Didn't remember that.
Yeah, that and the reevaluation were the only 2 warrant articles that failed.
I do have a question about something. Find it. Stick at. But Bob, I'm sure you were gonna complain to us about all the paper we have.
No, I think doing single-sided copying is excellent.
Excellent.
See, that's the difference between what I printed and what you printed.
Huh?
I double sided.
I know, but
I don't-
but none of these other ones, none of the other ones are. So thank you,
Okay.
thank you for your service.
Okay, all right, so maybe you guys can help me out, Chet, because I do have questions.
Okay.
By the way, in case anybody's interested, there's a report that's available that you could get. I don't know if everybody can get it, but I assume everybody can get it. From Bar Harbor, which lists all of the bank accounts that we have, trust accounts and that kind of stuff. There are 3 different kinds. There's what's known as trust funds. That's primarily cemetery, library kind of things. Shows you the monies they have and.
I'm thinking everybody can't get that.
That's
Almost Sal.
information.
Yeah?
Yeah,
It's in the annual report.
yeah,
I was just gonna say that.
yeah,
In the
it's
annual report.
there. I mean, it's available, so in case you guys want to get a copy. The second kind are called capital reserve funds. That's all the ones primarily that we talk about. And then there's something called expendable funds. Yeah.
Hey, Sal,
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to clarify, those are not actual bank accounts. Those are investments with Charter Trust Company, which is a subsidiary of Bar Harbor, but they're investments.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Okay, because I'm learning about them, Sadie, by the way. Which is why I'm asking questions about them now. So when you get to the buildings business, we have one of them, one account is called government buildings. And it has a balance of $119,000 in it at the end of October. And then we have another one called Community Center Fund, which is blank. And then we have Community Center Town Hall, which has $269,000. Are these not all, how are they integrated? What are they separated by?
They're
What's the
separated-
difference? Because there's over a lot of money there.
Well, the government buildings was the general town buildings fund. There was a community center fund voted on somewhere 4 to 6, 7 years ago. And they were gonna take the proceeds from the sale of, I think it was the
Was it corner?
Cozy Corner, that they were gonna use and was gonna go into this fund for the purpose of funding a community center. And then there was the 66,000, which was,
We never we created the one that had zero, so we had to close it
Right,
and
no.
then reopen it.
what happened was, there was two payments. One was 99,000, one was at 66,000. They were supposed to have gone into this account. The fund was never created correctly. So this past year, we had to delete that fund and then create a new one, put the 99,000 from the old fund into the new one. And then take the 66 that we never funded and put it in there. Okay? And then as part of that, when we were creating the warrant article, because there was conversations that when I first started, it was the log cabin, we could put town hall down there, we could do things like that. Which is still not out of question or conversation. And we don't know, and the community center could be there or it could be somewhere else. Because of the potential of them being merged, recommended by the attorney, we make sure we put town hall in with it. So it's really the community center if it was gonna have a town hall with it. Otherwise, the town hall comes out of the regular buildings fund.
So theoretically, could those two funds be combined as part of a?
If we put it to the
All
voters,
these
we
things?
could, like, if we said, okay, we have $1 million
Yes.
in between the two accounts, we could say, voters, we'd like to combine these to do this project.
Right.
And yes, that could be done.
Okay, good. All right, that's really my question. So what I'm saying is there's lots of money laying around. I didn't know specifically how it's allocated or assigned or anything, so I'll make sure we get it on the record that we can do something.
Remember that community center, town hall.
Yeah. Yep. Do I have any other on that? That's that. There's a couple of them in here that I don't even know what the heck they mean. Wait a minute. Accreditation.
The trustees handle the school accounts too, so some of those are the schools.
Yeah, this
Uh,
actually has
it
a
does
bunch
say-
of those reserve accounts.
Educational purposes. Those are all school accounts,
Yes.
computers.
Yep.
Right. Facilities. That's also
That's the
educational.
schools, yeah.
Um,
There must be 15 or 20 of them that are all cool.
There's a lot of them, yeah. Educational, everything that says educational is related to school.
Yes.
Okay, I get it. Okay, all right, well, I'm just learning. I'm learning. This is why I go to school. Okay, all right, so.
Let's find one for a ladder truck, didn't you?
Huh?
What?
You didn't find one for a ladder truck, did you?
It's in fire. It's under fire truck funds. You got $586,361.
Well, that's because we ordered a truck that we can't get.
We
for
got
a year.
big money there.
2 more years.
All right.
We have the money, we don't have the truck.
The schools need, for example, a special education fund because the state doesn't pay them
Hmm.
until the following year, for those kind of
Oh,
expenses.
boy.
So you have an added district placement, the kid has to go somewhere.
Mhm.
That's what we were talking about before, that's big money.
Yeah.
And you don't get that money till next year
Yeah.
from the state. So you need to have a pool there. That's a great example of a reserve fund that
Okay,
the schools.
Yeah.
great. Thanks, Roger. Appreciate that. Educated here.
Anticipated. But
Well, then they don't give you 100%. That's another.
You notice the account, it's called long range planning,
Yeah, I saw that one.
see how much is in there?
Well, I'll tell you in a minute.
Zip.
Zip.
That must be John's.
I think that'd be John's count. We should put something in there, Jake. All right. Any other questions on buildings? Table 5. All right, move on to table 6.
Well, I got one on file.
Yes, sir.
So we do need roofs on the museum and the meeting house. And you got the words here, but there's no dollars next to the word.
Meeting House.
Yeah, have we gotten any prices yet?
Oh,
Ballparks?
I don't, 25 grand for the museum.
Okay, we can put that in there, just we don't, do we know when we're gonna do it, how soon?
Probably 27.
Okay, well, that's no problem to put in, because it doesn't affect this current year, so.
All right, so, we're talking museum roof,
25,000, 27.
okay?
The
And
meeting house has got a little addition in the back.
and then the meeting house roof is how much, you think?
Say 10,000 for that.
Okay. We'll add those. We'll add-
Oh, so 27.
Yeah.
Bill's already high enough for 26.
Yeah.
Who knows, maybe John will find more greens. John's good at finding greens. Okay.
Actually, that meeting house one may very well be a grant.
We won't put in for a grant, but we'll put the expense items in there. Very good, thank you. All right, bridges and culverts. 3 major and 2 minor bridge replacements projects are planned in the next 3 years at a cost of $1,845,000, about 95% of which will be funded by substantial state and federal reimbursements. Major ones, Potato, Grist Mill, Transfer Station over Orange Brook. Those are the main ones. When you look at your numbers on the sheet on table 6, you can see we have the Transfer Station, $1.5 million. Grist Mill, basically 5 million. And the other one, oh, there it is, Potato Road, $2,950,000.
When you sent this out, and I looked at those,
Mhm.
I thought like it was a needed defibrillator. I wouldn't say that. $1.5 million for that little bridge that goes to the transfer station. They could bring that in on a flatbed truck, put it next to it.
Oh, you
It's
think
gotta-
when you have a
it's
river
gotta be-
involved, that stream
It's gotta
involved, you
be,
think it's gonna be
it's
that
gotta
easy?
be clear span. The issue is you can't have the abutments in the middle. They have to be clear span because of the stormwater issues.
Right.
And
It's
it
just
just
shocking.
becomes a very structural bridge. Now, the Grist Mill Road Bridge, if we go with the alignment that the state recommends, it's 100% funded, including design. Okay, so we're right now operating under the assumption that Grist Mill Road is gonna cost the town $0. It's costing us cash because we keep paying for engineering, but we can get reimbursed in either January or February, that money, that'll be coming back from the grant stuff. Potato Road Bridge is they are gonna do 100% of the funding of the bridge and 80% of the design. So we're gonna pay 20% of the design work, so maybe somewhere $60,000-$80,000 for that $3 whatever million bridge. And then transfer station is going to be just an 80-20 total, design and build. So we're gonna have like a $300,000 match. So between somewhere $400,000 or $500,000, the town will put out of these $11 million worth of bridges. You know, so that's what that's gonna look like going forward.
Where is the raising of the road cost?
That's in that,
That's in that
Yes.
6.9?
yes.
Wow.
Because that bridge is actually smaller than the bridge at the transfer station. As
Yeah,
far as span goes, so
yeah, so,
that bridge
Okay.
is not as dynamic on that perspective, but the plan we're working on now with the engineers, and hopefully we're gonna have updated numbers, probably right after we publish this.
We got it right next year.
Yeah, because basically they've already done all of the preliminary engineering for that. And we're going to final engineering right now, and the state's actually saying, hurry up, we'll let you get through. So we can rebuild the bridge. We also, on Tuesday, will be having the select board approve a contract with the engineer to see what they can do for remediation. And if we can put in 4 supports, can we open the bridge again? That type of thing. So we're gonna let them get started with that. At the same time, we're talking to Enfield about their temporary bridge. We're gonna see what our options are and get something so we get it open. But hopefully within the next year to 18 months, Potato Road will get built. The year following, Gristmill will build.
So big projects, but sorry.
Sadie is her hand raised.
Sadie, thank you. Go ahead. Sadie?
Pat, it was my understanding that the option that the state presented posed significant concern with abutters and that it wasn't clear that we were going to be able to move forward with that option. Is it reasonable to not plan for any expense? I mean, we got an email from one of the
The
neighboring
reality
landowners just
is,
last week.
yeah, I mean, the one abutter is, he's opposing it just because he wants all speed to stop. It's all about speed control. But according, when I was talking to HEB, his comment was, you know, we just had the right of way engineer out there doing the layout so they could do it, the survey, so that we could bring these to the owners and say, here's what we think we can do. This is what it's gonna cost us. This is how we're gonna address it. And if we get pushback, you know, then the town has to make decisions. You know, it's like, is that worth doing a eminent domain? Is it, or do you want to adjust the alignment? I mean, the reality is, from an engineering perspective, the way it comes into Route 4 and the alignment with the rest of Gristmill Hill Road is the best solution. The question is, what do we do for traffic calming with that?
Mhm.
And I would think if we could address the traffic calming, we'd have a pretty good success rate.
Would speed bumps help that problem?
No.
They've had,
It's not simple as that.
had these conversations for quite a while.
You don't want to,
Yeah, it's just- I remember very clearly when we had the first public meeting and the people were concerned and you assured them it wouldn't be a top-down conversation, that we would value their input and stuff. So we made a commitment to do that. So
oh, no, we're going to, because that's the whole purpose. Now, once we have the right of way plan, we have to meet with the abutters directly.
okay.
And then that's when we're gonna start having that conversation. My point is, I think the person that has the house that is near the tunnel that's coming out, their concerns are easily met with the engineering, because they were concerned with effects on their foundation and things of that nature. We know that they're not gonna have any effects, and the structural analysis will be able to verify that, which will then also take the pressure off the landowner, because it puts it on the engineer who certifies it.
I just want to make sure we're not being overly optimistic in not planning for any expense. But if you're confident that we can do
I
this
think that
without, and make everyone happy.
Right, the odds I think the odds are pretty good.
Okay.
The question is, because I've also told the engineer, this is gonna definitely depend on traffic calming. When that road gets straight and that hill. But, you know, the worst case, we're gonna be 60 to 80 or 90,000, because it's still only gonna be a $300,000 or $400,000 engineering fee. We're only gonna be responsible for 20% of that.
Okay, so
Because
nothing
they're covering-
extremely
They're
huge.
covering the entire construction either way. They said, we will do your engineering, we will do it all if you give us what we want.
Okay,
I think
Thank
Sadie,
you.
Sadie, just so everybody else understands, we are recommending a warrant capital reserve for bridges for each of the years moving forward, 65,000, 78,000, 90, 90, 103, and 106.
Yeah.
So we're putting money into the funds, reserve fund, to account for expenses.
Yes, right.
We could-
What I was saying is we're not accounting for any expense on Gristmill. Like we're not, if we're projecting no expense, then we're not asking for an appropriation that would include an expense. Because we're not going to ask for more than what we need, especially in this current situation. So what I'm saying is, like, I don't want to get to a point where, oh my gosh, we have to come up with a couple $100,000 because we didn't anticipate this. But if Chet's saying like worst case is 80, you know, I'm feeling better about that. So
Yeah, it's just, we're responsible, we would be responsible for 20% of the engineering. Both Gristmill and Potato Road bridge construction is covered.
okay, thank you.
Unless that changes, and then we would have to adjust, but at this time, that's what it is.
All right, the only other thing that I would add about, the bridges and culverts is we actually added culverts, all culverts, to the CIP plan rather than have them on a as-needed basis in the operating budget. And you can see we're saving, roughly anticipating $20,000 and with cost increases moving forward to replace small culverts every year.
Yeah, we're replacing 10 to 12 culverts a year minimum. We did them this year. And the intent is that we're gonna be able to just keep this going and in the same context with the other added things that have been added to the CIP plan. When you have a cumulative thing that you're doing every year or on a regular basis, that exceeds the $10,000, which the culverts are buying is $20,000. Is what we estimate, so that's why it's in this plan now.
Yeah, we'll always have a supply of culverts around just in case we need one when something breaks. So
We're trying to do it on Potato Road. We got anything that need to be done?
Well, the issue is when those culverts get replaced, they're gonna be big boxes for the stormwater overflow, so that they don't top the road anymore.
Recycle the ones from transfer station.
Sounds good.
Well,
That joke don't
those-
too easy.
Well, those are pretty shot anyway.
Yeah, so I think, I just want to point out that these are the kind of things that, we, in the committee meetings, we talk about extensively. And come up with, okay, so this is something new that we should add, that we should plan for and start saving money a little bit at a time to make sure that we're properly funded to do the things that we need to do to keep the town working effectively. Any other questions on bridges and culverts? Okay, road reconstruction. The town administrator and highway supervisor have developed a detailed plan for maintenance and construction of approximately 35 miles of paved roads and 54 miles of gravel roads. A lot of roads. The cost is expected to be just over $4 million over the next 6 years. The payments for the town approved bond issue of $2.7 million to enable reconstruction of Goose Pond, River, and Switch. And then 3 years are included in this amount of the thing within the $4 million. Last year, voters approved the start capital reserve fund to begin saving for future road work to eventually level out our annual tax burden. So you can see that this year, for roads, right, warrant to capital reserve, we're asking for $229,240. The appropriation coming from the general fund for financing, basically the bonds, $354,000. And here's what gets just a little squirrely. The gravel roads, the total capital appropriation for gravel roads we're asking for is only $45,000. You flip the next page and you go to the total capital appropriation for paved roads, we're asking for $537,405. Yeah. And so that's the sum total of the $229,354.
And that's because when we created the reserve account, it includes the gravel, it's all road reconstruction, so gravel roads and paved roads are all included in that reserve fund, so we have them separated from a project perspective, but the totals are these things combined.
And theoretically, if you want, you can look at and find which roads we're planning on, the plan now currently calls for, which roads to be addressed in each of the years moving forward over the next 6 years.
What are we doing on public waters road? Are we getting, federal funding or something?
We're hoping.
Yeah, but that's not considered.
Well, you got 30,000 you're planning to spend here.
Right.
Yeah, because we gotta upgrade the road that's there a little bit with gravel.
So these numbers are all odd, so you must have come up with a price per foot or
It's a
something,
price per cubic yard.
per yard, that's what I figured it was something like that.
I will say that it's not perfect.
Right.
They're gonna, Chet and Bob will be revising this as they go along. We noticed a few things that were inconsistent. For instance, the only one that I know, because I lived there, was Sawyer Hill Road. I noticed that Sawyer Hill Road is not paved all the way. Right? And so we're counting on that as a fully paved road, which is very expensive. When in fact, a very small piece of Sawyer Hill is paved, the rest of it is gravel. So, over the next year or so, this will get updated. I mean, we'll get a little better at it, we'll get a little bit more refined, and, we'll keep moving forward. But, this is I believe this was initially the first attempt at mapping all of these, John, was done by the planning board. Is that correct?
Yeah, all we did was try to classify them as whether they're private or public or class 6 or class 5.
Yeah.
And then to actually find the locations of them, the GPS point on each end of the road.
Right. Yeah.
And that report was imported, and then we
Right.
started having review to say, okay,
Right.
what's correct, do we need to make any adjustments?
Yeah, so it's a building process,
But on Public Waters Road, you're working on that, but you can't get to that unless you go through Clark Pond Road. And you're not doing any work on Clark Pond Road.
Yeah,
Clark Pond is a very long road, and Public Waters is a
The-
tiny
the
thing
issue-
at the end.
the issue goes back to the Silvio Conte issue, and I've been in contact with them, and they're like, in the spring, you can reapply for a grant. They're not gonna do any of the paved roads, but they may give us money for the gravels. We're trying to get that to happen. There was conversation like, oh, we had to do was sign something, we were gonna get all the money in a paved road, and he's like, you guys like, no. He said, you gotta reapply and we might be able to give you some gravel road money, do some improvements, all within that other area.
You might want to include Clark Pond Road.
Yep, okay.
That's the long stretch.
Right. Yeah, Clark Pond Road, I think is what they were talking about. So that's what I haven't gotten into the detail of it. I have emails back and forth, and then we're gonna meet and go over this at some point.
But in any event, again, this is the current plan, based on things that happen in the world. Subject to change, and I'm sure next year it will be updated.
But I hope.
And then just one more pain in the ass question, but
Yeah, sure.
you got a lot of money here for Switch Road and River Road. Those aren't done.
They are done. That's their percentage of the bond.
Yeah, you got that, right? They were covered by the bond, so that the bond payment has to be made every year.
That's the 10-year, it'll be 10 years for each one of those roads.
Okay.
I just tried to apportion it.
Yeah. The last page that you have, then, that's enough on road reconstruction, gives you the total annual tax appropriation for the capital program. See that, this year, we're asking for $1,372,000, and then 1.4 million, 1.5 million, 1.6, 1.7, 1.7. So you can see it's, moving out reasonably, nothing crazy going on there. Unless something crazy happens.
Well, let's hope we're able to stabilize it, even not go up that much each year. So that's the goal. Our goal is to get to a proper appropriation for replacement costs. Basically, it's funding depreciation. If it's gonna last 10 years, we gotta rebuy it.
Okay, then there are other things that the committee did. We reviewed certain departments that we only reviewed. We sat down with them. Some of them were here, we had department heads in, or Chet sat in for them. We reviewed their plans. Cemeteries, no capital expenditure needs to have been identified yet. Recreation, no capital expenditures are needs to be identified for those. Emergency medical services, they're going to be ordering a replacement ambulance in 2026 and another one in 2028. They added items to their plan for events and stair chairs, and Lucas's are a CPR equipment. I have to change that. Good. Thank you, Chuck, for that information, by the way. These items are to be on a 10-year life cycle. Recommended appropriation is in their plan. Ambulance equipment is funded by multi-town EMS enterprise fund to which Canaan contributes annually from the general budget, so that you have was 150,000 in there this year that Canaan is paying for services. The CIP committee has reviewed and endorsed the current plan, department plan. Transfer station, no capital expenditure is planned for the transfer station at this time, other than the replacement of two small buildings discussed before. The select board is currently undertaking, is our understanding, a comprehensive review of the transfer station operations and all the options available to the town for refuse management, including the possible use of outside contractors, to provide various levels of potential services. If the select board review concludes that major equipment purchases will be needed, that equipment will be included in the highway department CIP reserve. Water and sewer. Water and sewer is funded by user fees and grants. Sorry,
So
go ahead. Sorry.
major equipment would be on the highway department CIP reserve fund?
Basically, we don't have a transfer station equipment plan, so it's basically, and again, it comes down to semantics. We are a full public works department, and we haven't said that we don't have it called the public works reserve fund yet. But the highway one covers
So if they
all
need
of
a
that.
new compactor, that's what would.
That's where it would come.
That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah.
It's not a vehicle, so I didn't know how we're gonna account for that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Water and sewer is funded by user fees, grants, not tax revenues, being managed directly by the town's administration. Sewer pump station needs some repairs. About 10,000 entire units going to need to be replaced in the near future, somewhere between 6 months and 2 years at a cost of around $300,000. Water and sewer operator and town administrator reported that the current needs for system repairs and upgrades will be funded by a combination of awarded grants and water and sewer user fees, with no CIP capital funds required in the near future. CA stated that user fees have not been increased since 2018. An increase is needed and will be pursued by the town soon. It is anticipated that an additional source of funding will be hired in the longer term. CA is developing a long-term capital plan to establish an enterprise reserve fund to support future system replacements.
That was a hot topic at the select board meeting. That it always says that it's paid for by the users. But that it's so big right now, what they have to do, that it's almost like the users couldn't possibly sustain it, so the town's gonna have to pay it. So how are you gonna work that out?
Well, typically, the hope is right now, because when, one positive of Canaan's deterioration is we're looked too kindly upon, because we know we don't have the money to fix these things or the number of users. At some point, because the town owns the infrastructure.
Yeah.
The users pay for the operations and the function and small upgrades and things. And the question's going to become at some point, and I understand that Enfield had to do this at one point, where they had to put it to the voters to say, look, the users will pay for a third of the bond, the town will pay for a third of the bond, and the third will come from grants or whatever that is. And look at how do we do this, because it's the town infrastructure. And be like, well, why would we want to pay for that? Well, if the town is going to continue or improve in its tax base, attracting people, attracting things, we can't let that go. Plus, no one who's currently on the sewer, all of those houses become condemned in some way, because you can never have a septic system or a well and meet any of the state rules. Like, it just can't happen. We own having a sewer system where we're gonna have to determine how we're gonna pay for it. Hopefully, in the beginning, we can do it with grants, and then we're gonna have to have a long-term plan. That's how we start with it anyway. And John is currently looking for grants for that right now.
You could increase the user fees, start.
Well, first of all, the separate issue is, yes, we are below the state's minimum required user fee. We are going to have to get at least to that in the short term and have probably 3 or 4 regular increases. Okay, it's just, we had an analysis done by MRI when they were looking at this in the beginning, and it was like, yeah, you need, and we're a year behind that right now, with getting caught up and trying to get us up to where it's gonna pay for its operations at the very least.
Right.
You know, and currently, the water users have a SRF loan of $575,000 we haven't started paying on yet. Because of the intake and all the associated work and some of the design work for the next phase came out of that first 575,000. So it's an SRF loan. It's virtually free, I think, from a percentage wise, but we still have to pay it. So these are all things that we have to get operationally going. So the first thing is we're getting the new heads put in. We're hoping we can get the proper reads happening on our bills. And step one, step two, the next quarter is to get the rates done, that we can start charging a little more for the rates. And then step three is going to be the long-term financing of some of these projects and how we're going to do it. Because at the end of the day, you know, and it's a concern of how some places have done it over time or whatever. The town is responsible for all of these debts. So if the user fees come up short, the town has to fund the overage anyway. It just never gets put to the voters to actually make a plan, which is not the way to do it. So we gotta get this all happening, because I would say, I think it's like a year from now, they want us to start paying the SRF. It's right, I think it's sometime late 26. We're gonna have to start making that payment. Because I just got the notification that we're trying to close this thing out now, that fund.
Mike?
Yeah, someone could make the argument that it benefits everybody to the far reaches of the town to have a water and sewer system in the village, because then you have a village, you know, without a village, you don't have a town, et cetera. Although nobody's coming to my house to pay for a new septic system, but I could see where you could make the argument that the town should fund, and you used an example, 1/3 and 1/3, 1/3, the capital improvements that need to be done. But in terms of user fees for who's flushing the toilet and who's turning the spigot on, I shouldn't have to pay for that.
No.
People should be paying for that
That is
themselves.
correct.
But
And
we can argue about the other thing. And
no, it's really the asset management. That's where the real issue is. Once we get these fees up to a certain basic level and we make the changes that were proposed, it's going to be fine for paying for its everyday expenses.
But how come we haven't done, I mean, we've been talking about this for 4 or 5 years, and how come you're gonna be the bad guy, but how come we
Oh,
haven't done this?
yeah, I don't know. I heard on the social media, I'm already the jerk from someplace else who doesn't live here, so I don't pay the taxes, so I don't care.
I was defending you on that one, by the way.
And
I don't do social media.
I don't
All
have.
right, let's not talk
social
social
media.
media.
I don't agree with everything you do, but that was wrong.
There is, by the way, there is a ray of hope that is very intimately tied to water and sewer business. There is a little group called the Economic Development Committee trying to find its footing beyond banners. So we're struggling with that. But one of the keys to obviously fixing the tax rate problem that we have around here is to somehow figure out how to bring in some type of business, both a combination of retail things and maybe light industrial or other things. There's a little group forming now, outside of everything, that's just starting to talk about this kind of stuff seriously rather than jokingly. So we'll see how that works, but a water and sewer capability, I mean, we're using, my understanding is roughly 50% of the capacity that we have for water and sewer. And when you say to somebody who needs to build a light industrial thing or bring in water, we have water and sewer capacity. And it's not gonna cost you a lot of money to, have your thing come in here. That's a huge asset in the conversation. So there is a ray of hope there. I don't wanna get anybody's hopes up, but
Yeah, I mean, the issue is
we
always.
gotta get something going in that.
And having the access makes a difference. And these are things that, like, even at the planning commission level, I think would be a conversation is, impact fees, because it's one of those things that if we have to spend $500,000 to extend to them, for them to have it. Okay, are we gonna make that money back in a reasonable amount of time and looking at how do we address those items? So that it's got a lot of pieces and parts to that.
My limited experience with this, just so you know, is yes, there's a ray of hope there, but you bring businesses in with tax breaks, not tax burdens.
Yeah.
So we've had problem in Connecticut where they didn't give people tax breaks and they left.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, no, they have to pay taxes. We're gonna raise the taxes on the businesses. Businesses won't stay. You don't give a tax break.
No,
I'm just saying,
But,
getting them to come in to pay for this, long shot.
well,
At best.
yes and no, because development costs are different than long-term taxes. Because development costs, then you go build anywhere, you're gonna have tremendous off-site development costs. It just happens in almost every significant project anymore. So looking at the possibility that there's some sort of a shared cost or something like that makes it realistic. But when it comes to, you can't raise taxes on the businesses and not make it fair. Our goal would be to make sure everybody's paying their fair share. You know what I mean? And that's,
I love that state.
I know you do, I hate that word too. But my thing is, because fair share doesn't mean because you can pay more, you can.
So that-
It's like, it's a
So
whole.
let's move on.
That's another topic
And
altogether.
and the only reason I wanted to talk about the water is that's gonna be volatile.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, in conclusion, major expenditures for bridges, fire engines, highway vehicles, garage, town, road reconstruction, financial challenge. The town's commitment to allocating over the next 6 years, 1.5 million per year to capital reserves and road reconstruction is critical to supporting stable finances in Canaan while maintaining the town's capital assets. Want to thank the program committee, wants to thank department heads, the town administrator, town finance manager for their efforts in providing the committee with comprehensive long-range projections contained in this report.
Nice body of work, quite frankly. Thank you.
Well, it's not just me, it's the
No,
guys that did it. We all did it.
all them.
All of them did it. We all did it. And so, it is I personally, frankly, I like this committee and I like doing this work. And I think that people that are on the committee are very committed to doing the best job that they can for the town. So that's our recommendation.
So my 2 cents, one of the reasons why I wanted to be on this was we're so far behind, we can't fix everything in 1 year. That's why I like what you guys did, is you clearly spread stuff out. You still have to fix things you have to fix, but we're not trying to do it all in 1 year.
Yeah, you've seen it, the combination of, well, we gotta fix this. All right, so we gotta do financing on these. All the things that came together, under Claude's leadership for, the last 4 or 5 years and his helping me lead the ship, got us to this point and I think we're moving in the right direction. So thank you for that. Okay, what's next on the agenda?
Go to the chair.
Oh, I'm now the chair back.
Oh, you didn't give it back to you.
I don't care. Take it. We got-
There'll be no coup here.
There'll be no queue going on.
I have one follow-on to that last discussion we had.
Yes, sir.
Impact fees. If you two over there, the money holders.
Yep.
Are interested in doing impact fees, you do have an ordinance. Voters said, do an impact fee. And prior people in your shoes have said, oh my God, I don't want to implement it, it's too much work. So we have not implemented. But if you're interested in doing an impact fee, we can do it. We've got the,
All I'm gonna say is, if all it means is her going to do the work and she can find additional funds, I know Carrie Ann's all over additional fees.
Darian likes the idea of doing it. He goes home and thinks about nothing but the issue.
so in the past, the town administrator and the finance director have been opposed to it. The select board's been opposed to it. And I think that's discouraged the planning board, and the planning board actually said, we don't want to implement it because nobody wants to, it looks like too much work. We can go revisit that. And there's an actual ordinance on the books.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is, when, if we're gonna bring any businesses, like, obviously an impact fee for somebody putting up a duplex doesn't apply, but if somebody's putting in a shopping center for some, small grocery store or something, it's like, okay, well, if we have to extend services, you have to help pay with it. That's what a lot amounts to. And I think that just makes sense. Because then we would just continually go more negative in like the water sewer, because we would never make up those fees.
Or street, so.
Yeah, whatever it is.
All right, so moving on to the next thing, which would be tax rate information. Thank you, Claude. Go ahead.
I've emailed out the summary page, the impact calculation, and it's just the one-page thing. That was with the expenditure budget and revenue budget today. So I just wanted to go over the total, if everything as it sits now, the total appropriations are $7,432,892. Our estimated revenues would be at $2,650,518. So the net change, or the net difference of that, expenses minus revenues, is what estimated taxes would be raised, and that's $4,782,373. And then I gave you the column showing you the 2025 to the 2026 proposed change. We just set our 2025 tax rate. So to the right of all the words, those are tax rates historically that have passed already, and I gave you 5 years of historical information to compare to the 2026 estimated budget. Right now, we're sitting on a 15.1% increase. And then I gave you what that breaks down to, the town tax rate per thousand. And then I gave you the per thousand increase. So the increase would be $1.33. That would bring the town tax rate portion to $10.13. And that ends up being a $300.52 increase on the median home. Our median home in Canaan is at $226,500 for the most recent assessment.
Does the 15.1 include the state ed and the county, or?
No.
No, that's just the town portion.
And so that's just on the actual town piece, which is a small piece, right?
Yeah,
It's 25%.
We're 28% of the whole tax bill.
Right, so it's an increase on the 28%.
That's correct.
And the numbers to the right on that same line, those also without the state ed and county?
Yes.
Yeah, the bottom line where I said increase in estimated taxes to be raised, that was just the town portion. The town or the line above that where I say total tax rate per thousand, including school and county, I give you the historical tax rates. There's no way for me to calculate that for 2026. There's way too many moving parts, but we can at least get the town portion.
So I would make a few comments on this. I would say that we all want to understand that when we say that the operation budget appropriations of 6,457, that would be next theoretically on the agenda tonight. Whether we get to it or not is going to be another question. We'll talk about that in a minute. But that is subject to change. We go through each of the departments and one by one, and make any cuts that we feel appropriate. So we can make some change to what is currently in that $6,457,000 number. The other thing I would say is on the special warrant articles, that includes petitions. Have this somewhere. I believe it's something like $50,000 worth of, just under $50,000 worth of special petitions. Things like transit and this kind of thing, which are optional, which are currently in the budget, which we don't necessarily have to approve. It also includes all of the warrants for both the CIP plan and any other things like transfer station and EMS and those kind of things. So all of those things are subject, the top two numbers there are subject to change based on our final review which will come next week, 2 weeks from now on the 18th. Most of it. I don't really think you want to get into too much of that today. So that's one comment. The other thing that I would comment quickly is that the valuation, as you notice, it's the same as 2025. Generally speaking, the valuation goes up roughly an average of about $6 million a year. So that number could change and change the calculation. Yes. Right. So theoretically, if it went up $6,000 a year, you would basically have a, instead of the $10.13, it would be $10. Right. So there are things that, you know, there are moving parts yet to be determined. Is the point I'm trying to do.
And they're just, when we did this last year and Carrie Ann the year before, and looked at getting caught up with where we're supposed to be on the budget. I remember last year saying we had a 3-year problem making up for revenues that weren't in the budget, like weren't collectible. We were just had to make believe some revenues. That 169,000 that's in there this year from undesignated funds is the last time. So we will have written off after this budget year that's 3% every year that we've been having to offset just to make up for revenues. 2% or 2.5% is what we were projecting we were gonna have to be catching up on capital because we were underfunding capital by that. Now it's gonna be more like 1.5% for the next 3 years instead of 2.5%. So we can tell you right now that next year, 4.5% have already been adjusted. And when you look at the increase this year, the cemetery, not gonna, you know, it's necessary, but right now it sits at $53,000 with $13,000 offset, so that's 40,000 of your increase. Okay, and then the other piece that wasn't in last year's budget is the police officer. That's a part of this difference. So when you look at that, we have $253,000 if we wanted to get back to the predicted 9%. Those two numbers add up to almost that. So we are on where we predicted we were gonna be. We have some additional things that have come up that now we have to address.
Any questions on the chart, if I may?
Sure, go right ahead.
The line that says special warrant articles, a special warrant article is a crazy kind of animal. In this column, this number 975 is all warrant articles, not just specials.
It's
Is that
all the
correct?
warrant articles and the petition.
Right, so should we
So
change
it's
that
everything,
line?
not the operating budget.
Instead of calling it special warrant articles, how about just calling it warrant articles? Then deleting individual articles,
Yeah, that's fine.
then
But I think Sal said that that number also includes the ones that you anticipate probably hearing about.
Yes,
Like
that's the thing. I got the
Wow.
CIP, the portion of that 975, CIP is 805,260. The departments, EMS, transfer station,
Right.
120,060. Total town warrants are 925,320.
So the 50 grand for the
And then
charities.
Yeah, the VA, West Central, Transit, Grafton, Wise, TriCap, Public Health, 49,853.
us already?
I don't know the
I
answer,
saw a couple
but they're all in there. They're in the budget at the moment. They're
Based
in.
on
The other-
historical.
Yes,
And I do, you know, just coming to my mind now, and I don't remember the number. The not Grafton, Dorchester has approached the town about taking over the other half of the town for ambulance coverage. The select board approved that after the last meeting. And that means we're doubling our fee. So we're gonna have additional revenue.
That's EMS though.
It's
Yeah.
fire too.
Oh.
So there'll be a little bit of, so we are taking on some of these things.
and where are we with, what's it, Grafton?
Grafton, the select board authorized a letter to Grafton that says, starting January 1st, we're gonna send it this week, Monday. That says that the town of Canaan, starting January 1st, when they cover Grafton for EMS, it's gonna cost them $1,400 a call. And we're gonna start billing them. They have to agree to it, or we are gonna suspend coverage. Because it is not a mutual aid issue. Yeah, excuse me for.
No, go right ahead. We know old guys.
Hey, I'm not one of those.
I am.
I got another formatting. The line that's less estimated revenues, those are all negative numbers. Some of them have minus signs, some don't have minus signs, and some are in red ink. Could we be consistent and use one?
I only see the two in red ink. I was trying to like show the difference. So I was trying to highlight the change from 2025 to 2026, showing that the appropriations.
That's a
are
negative
less.
number, right?
Yeah, like it,
But if you go to the right of that, you got 6,354,859, that's also a negative number. Right?
This is a variance. The ones in red are a variance. Indeed, are you? So I mean, I have to say what it is.
But it's, you got numbers which are on the 2025 tax rate, you got a 6 that doesn't have a minus.
I'll format stuff however you want it formatted.
Well,
I
I'm
see that
just
they could have put a negative sign in the 2025 column.
So all
But that
I'm
was just an
suggesting is you
oversight.
pick one form, either use red ink for all the negatives, or use minuses for all the negatives.
Or parentheses. Parentheses means negative. Just use the same, that's all.
I think
I
extreme
didn't say what I'm
left,
saying.
less estimated revenue, 2654, that's a negative number. Just asking you to be consistent in the form, that's all.
Okay.
All right, that's good. So, you have any other questions there, Mike? I could see you.
No, well, the 15%, this is what we've been waiting for 3 months.
Yes, yeah.
For 3 months, we've been waiting.
Well, by the way, Mr. Reese's request that we had this tonight.
Drum roll, all right, what did we just do over the last 3 months? And I've seen that, so, that's a big number. And I'm not saying that it's not the right number, maybe we have no choice and we gotta take our medicine, but it's a big number. And I think the next step is what somebody would do all along, is go back and look at each department one by one. Like, can we, like that scene in Dave, the movie Dave. Remember? I guess the pencil out.
Right. You don't really need that much money, do you really?
And
Yeah, I
then,
can tell you, I already have a list of things that I'm gonna be addressing, but you guys should all, I would like us all to take the time now that we've gotten all this, we've gone through and we understand the revenue. Know that the revenue is a little light, meaning we'll probably generate some additional funds somewhere along the way. We now know what the current budget says it's gonna cost us, right, from an expense standpoint. So we know the bottom line now is what you see here. And I think it's up to us now, and I'd like to just focus next meeting, the entire meeting, so hopefully everybody will come. If we've had a chance to review all this, to, go through each of the sections and see where we wanna cut things if we want. Yes? Fair? Good. Thought process? You okay with that?
What's
You okay
the way
with
the
that?
system sucks here?
A few years ago, we just whacked government buildings, I remember that. Nothing was going to government buildings.
And so
Do we whack the maintenance guy?
or do we whack the maintenance? I think you'll find that that's not a,
Or do we take it 10% across the board? Everybody figures out a.
there you go, there's another thing. We'll get to that. So anyway, so I would like to, just quickly, I don't think there has been any update on communication, education discussion.
Well, I gave them my 2 cents.
Oh, you did?
I think Carrie Ann was right on top of it. I knew that.
Oh, you have something from them? Yes, no?
I'm just explaining the tax bill.
all we were gonna do was do a mailer to the residents with the warrant articles and the explanatory notes behind it. So if anybody wants to add anything to that, we can just insert a page.
What was your thought, Mike?
I had suggested that we show people, like a 5-year or 10-year, pie chart, I guess, for lack of a, of our portion, the town portion versus the school versus the city, county, et cetera, it's like that. Not just do it for this 1 year where people could say, oh, you know, we want to show that there's a history of the town being at 28% versus 29%.
Yeah, is that something that you guys can
That's
help
what I
Mike
thought,
put
that's where
together?
we were going with that thing.
It's her numbers. She's gonna have to pull the tax bills that we, you know, from when we get the state's tax rate each year for the last 5 years, and then say, here's how, yeah.
Well, so I'm asking, is that something that you have the bandwidth to deal with before you do your mailing?
Like we have the tax rate, we can include that. The tax rate from the Department of Revenue says just that every single year.
Yeah, for 5 straight years, so we could, yeah, that information came from DRA.
Right. Yeah,
Well, you're talking about the part that's like the school and everything, right?
yeah,
I show that the part that we're doing is stuff, like you can't say you raise my taxes and you won't fix the roads, we're trying to fix the roads. Well, how my taxes go up so much? Because of the school tax.
Well, we can do it like where we say the town, it's the green.
Right, yeah, all right.
And it's red for the school.
we said we want that.
Well, it addresses John's point. John wasn't sure whether it was 15% was all in on everything or on the, but
That's just
well,
on
that's
our
what I'm
portion.
getting at is, so if we can, if you can just work with Carrie Ann
Yeah,
on.
well, I'll dig out my letter again, but, you know, I thought that there would be a cover letter with the tax bill.
That's what she's talking about.
Yeah.
And, you know, first, express some empathy and then, you know, then explain things and, you know, et cetera, to just say, put it in front of people that we've tried our hardest to keep our portion down. We only control this much of your tax bill
Mhm.
and leave it at that. You know, I'm not, you don't want to throw darts, but stop.
Well, I would also,
Hang on a second. Bill has one question.
Say the point that you made before, just.
The green and the red.
I just couldn't hear you.
oh, I said that we could make the town's portion of the pie chart green and red for the big school section.
I
think the objective should be clarity rather
I was humor, but.
That would make it clear.
Well, I don't wanna,
Yeah.
yeah, I think
I
that,
think,
go ahead, I would like it just to be factual.
right, no, my thing would be, to be honest with you, one of the things that I've done in the past when you have a big bunch of information that you have to discern is if we had a list of the 15 groups that the town gets together, the senior, the library groups, like whatever they are, okay? We have the Lions Club. And we go in and I sit there and I say, look, this is what's happening and this is why it's happening. And then field the questions and actually take the questions on 15 different lunches or something, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that's the kind of thing to get out there and explain what's going on.
Because not enough people come to the deliberative
Correct. I
session.
mean, they need to hear the information that's coming at the deliberative session. They really do.
One or two of us should go with you, so you.
Well, that's, we have a representative of the budget committee.
And they need to have a personal information from the individuals who created this.
Correct. No, because, you know, like I heard, you know, the thing, I don't have social media. I just, people tell me, oh, by the way, you're getting trashed today. So, but, you know, they're like, well, I, why don't you call the people in Killington? And for 5 straight years, while I lived there and I was the town manager, we were doing the same thing. We took a 5-year plan to slowly, incrementally get to where we needed to be. That's kind of what we're trying to implement here. We're a little ahead of schedule, but I think we're going to be seeing much better results over the next 3 years. And then it should become, it's just, all you're dealing with is inflation, or if you need to add or subtract a service. That's it. That's the goal.
So I think, if we could get, Mike, if you want to, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Look, I'm coming from the outside world here, but the missing piece of the puzzle that we're talking about, which I think is of huge significance, is that here in Live Free or Die land, and no state general tax, and even something like the dividend and interest tax gets abolished. I mean, it's astonishing. And the basic point I'm making is that a whole lot of stuff in towns like us
don't have control of is because the way the state is organized and the way the state is operated. And I think that ought to be part of the conversation. Doesn't need to be heavily politically laden, but this is when you're making the choice not to have a state income tax, not to have not to have a state sales tax or any other general tax, and to eliminate a tax that basically is aimed at people who can afford to pay it. This is the kind of result you get.
No, there's no question. I mean, you know, I remember when Vermont put the state school tax in. And it was like, what was being presented was, you could eliminate your sales tax and have no property tax in the state if you just went to a use tax like they have in Texas, where it's 2 or 3% on every transaction. If you go to a lawyer, you pay 2%, whatever it is. And basically it raises more money than all of them, and they didn't want to do it because they were really focused on second homeowners paying the bill for the state of Vermont. It's like, that's all they could get in their head, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because Vermont doesn't have any central base of economic growth.
Yeah.
It's all resort and recreation based. You
I
know?
think back to the point, you guys have something that you're planning on mailing, right? Mike, do you think you could draft something and you and I can work on it?
Yeah, I kind of have to already. I'm looking for it.
Yeah, that's all right. You and I can draft something and
Tell you what.
then I'll go and sit down with Carrie Ann and we'll see how we can fit it in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
That'd be great. Okay. So I think we'll just hold off on voting on any of the committee proposed budget things until next meeting.
Are there any changes you're looking for tonight other than the 25 and 10 that we put in to say, or just clarify and we just go through it?
No, I think we should just leave it. And then everybody has the material, they all know the contents. Go home and study it for 2 weeks and caucus again and bring our best thoughts forward and see if we can come up with a.
Are you
Like, that
chasing the
makes sense.
cemetery or am I? Who's chasing the cemetery?
I'm chasing the cemetery.
Okay.
They're all dead, but.
Oh, they don't move very far.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll move.
You had-
Seconded.
All right, let's take a roll call vote. John, yeah. Tom, yes.
Yes.
Sal, yes. Michael, yes. Bob, yes.
Yes.
Bill, yes. Sadie, yes.
Danny's already left.
Share with
Okay.
the budget committee.
Go ahead.
I have got abatements on my valuation of my house, $63,000. And